Ooh, whoa. Wait. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, yeah. There we go. Now I'm all dressed and ready for this video. What's good, my YouTube friends and family? Welcome back. And today we are doing a official movie review on the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Now, I recently saw the film on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at Cinemark Movie Theaters. Now, I will be talking and things about the movie. So, for those of you who have not seen the movie, this video will contain spoilers. So, I will give you let me actually set up a timer. I will give you guys at least 30 seconds to get off of this video because you will be spoiler warned. You've been warned. So, your timer to get off this video, if you have not seen the movie, starts now. Just wait for that timer to go off. And there's the timer. Excuse me. So, that's your last chance to get off this video in 3, 2, 1. There. You have been warned. Now, on to the review. So, what I'll do is that I'll go in order on how the movie played out. And then, at the end, I will review what I liked and disliked about the movie and give my rating at the end of the video. So, without any further ado, let's get started. So, in the beginning of the film, we see Rosalina reading a bedtime story to all the different colored Lumas, and right as she was about to get to the part where they wanted to see the story with Mario versus Donkey Kong as a reference from the first Mario movie, we then get interrupted by Bowser Jr. trying to get Rosalina with his giant robot, which he actually succeeds. And Namek, aka Cody, was there to witness his first quote-unquote princess napping. Then she takes not only Rosalina, but one of the Lumas by accident, because I think the Luma was trying to save Rosalina, but ended up getting captured with her themselves. So then we see Bowser Jr. fly off with Rosalina and the Luma into space, and then we cut to the title movie screen of the Super Mario Galaxy movie. We then cut to the next scene with Mario and Luigi riding what appears to be dirt bikes or motorcycles in the desert. And also, just a heads up, throughout this review, there will be most likely some Easter eggs and references to Mario games. And I have not really played all the Mario games, so if I mention any of these Easter eggs, they most likely went over my head, but you can let me know what they were in the comments below. But yeah, they get to this upside down pyramid that's located in the desert, which is a town run by these face with skulls on them. And then they're all wearing sombrero hats with maracas in their hands. And then Mario and Luigi were actually called by these guys to fix a pipe. And then they all were scared and point to the hole in the pyramid where those noises were coming from. So then Mario and Luigi power up with the fire flower power up, and they all go fire mode. And then Mario and Luigi go inside the pyramid to see what the problem is. It turns out it's a clogged pipe that's blocked off by large rocks and boulders. So when they open it, something comes out of the shadows all fast and whatnot. And when they finally see what it is, it's actually the green Yoshi that we saw at the ending of the first Mario movie. And then Yoshi proceeds to tell them how he ended up in the pipe. And apparently after he hatched out of the egg, he is actually in Brooklyn, New York, wandering around, getting a bunch of knickknacks and whatever. And he accidentally knocked over a dinosaur skeleton in a museum. Even though witnesses saw him putting the bone back, they still chased him out of the museum, and he's like, yeah, okay, I've had enough of this. And he goes back into the warp pipe, and after telling them all that, Mario's like, I guess we'll never know. So then, they got the job done, and then Yoshi, Mario, and Luigi proceed to go back to the Mushroom Kingdom. Then we cut back to Bowser Jr. taking Rosalina and Luma to, later on we'll know this planet as Planet Bowser. So then he tries to tell his army that their mission is almost complete now. Junior's new plan is to go find his father so he could see what he's been doing for the past few years. Sorry if I'm sniffling a lot. But then, as he's trying to put Rosalina in this contraption, she actually tries to fight them all off, and the Luma actually escapes, and Rosalina tells the Luma to go and get help or whatever, and then they try to capture the Luma, but the Luma succeeds and goes off somewhere to go get help, and then Rosalina's then put in this contraption by Bowser Jr.'s paintbrush. So then we cut back to the scene with Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi in their house, getting ready for Peach's so-called birthday, and then Mario's like, do you think the princess is actually going to like this gift? And then Luigi, being Mario's hype man, saying that of course she'll love it. And then they proceed to say, do you have feelings for the princess or whatever? We already been confirmed by Nintendo themselves that they are just friends. So basically Mario's in the friend zone, basically. So then they go to the Mushroom Kingdom. They all celebrate Peach's birthday. And as soon as Yoshi meets Toad, he's like, okay, so some dinosaur just shows up and he's now part of the group. Wow. Over here being salty or whatever. So then Mario tries to find Peach, and it turns out Peach is actually up on the ceiling of her castle watching the fireworks. And then Mario is having this talk with her, and she's like, I hate birthdays, because it's not actually my real birthday, it's just the day that the Toads found me. I don't know where I am, or I don't know where I came from, or whatever. But we'll actually find that out later on during the film. So then Mario's like, oh, so if it's not really your birthday, then you must not want a gift. So that he proceeds to give her the gift, which is actually the umbrella that she used throughout the movie. Sorry if I just spat everywhere. But yeah, Mario actually is the one who ended up giving Peach the umbrella that she actually ended up loving and used it throughout most of the film. So then we get this cool meteor shower scene flying above the Mushroom Kingdom. Everyone's loving it, and stardust falls everywhere on the kingdom. And then this one big star comes crashing down in the middle of the mushroom field or whatever. They all go to investigate, and it's actually the Luma who actually came to get help. And as soon as I don't know what the gender of the Luma is, so I'm just going to call it they, them. But basically, they saw Peach, and they were like, Princess Peach, I finally found you, collapsed in her arms. So then Peach decides to bring the Luma back to the castle and heal it back to health. So then the Luma proceeds to tell Peach and the others that my mom has been kidnapped beyond the Darkway Galaxy. We need your help. So then Mario and the rest of the Toads were eavesdropping on the conversation. They're saying the princess is not leaving. And Mario's like, all right, guys, let's just give her some space. She can figure it out for herself. We'll talk about it more in the morning. And then he wishes the princess good night. And Peach is like, Toad, pack our things. We're leaving. Being the brave, notable princess that she is. Always wanting to help an innocent. So then the Luma actually makes a jump portal to actually take Peach and Toad to the Starway Galaxy or whatever. And then, before that, she actually writes Mario a note saying that she's leaving the Mushroom Kingdom in his hands. So then, Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi are actually doing a pretty decent job of doing good tasks around the kingdom, helping citizens with dangerous things, picking up fallen ice cream and replacing it with bigger ones, saving a Toad from a giant red and white fish who kind of, in my opinion, has the colors of a Magikarp from Pokemon. So then, they're tired of doing all these things, and they get one more task, and it's actually from Bowser, who, meanwhile, is over here painting a canvas in his little dungeon, which I don't even think that's really a dungeon, because even though he is small and a prisoner, he's actually living a pretty good life from the last time we saw him in a cage, because last time we saw this man in a cage, he was basically inside a giant bird cage with nothing but a small piano to satisfy his satisfactions. But now we see him in a almost a castle-like prison representing his own castle, has like 3 or 4 different floors, and then over here painting a Picasso of Mario's dead skull going like, and then Luigi shows up and jump scares him, and he's like, "Don't move, I'll be right out." And he's like, "Guys, I made a masterpiece for Princess Peach. What do you think?" And Luigi's like, "Love the colors." And Mario's like, "It's trash, bitch." So he crashes out on him. He's like, "Whoa, sorry, that's the old Bowser talking. Still working through my demons, I suppose." And he's like, "Nah, this is not only a gift, it's also a peace offering, saying that he's redeemed and is ready to be let free." And Mario's like, "She would never do that. She does not even trust you." And he tries to hold back his anger. And then he's like, "I even made soup." And then while Mario trash talks him, he forcefully drops the soup, and he's like, "All right, that's it. I've had enough. And I need my 8 hours, or else I'll really turn into a monster." And slams the door on his tail, breathes fire everywhere, and then we get the scene with Bowser Jr. beaming up the castle into space, and then before that happens, Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi tries to get all the Toads out of the castle as fast as possible. So then they successfully did that, but Luigi, Mario, Toad, oh, not Toad, Luigi, Mario, and Yoshi are still up in the castle in space. And then they're confronted by Bowser Jr. saying, "I demand that you release my father at once." Mario's like, "Over my dead body." He's like, "Fine by me." And then we get the scene with Luigi wanting to introduce themselves to everyone. He's like, "I'm Bowser Jr., and I'm going to be taking my father now." And they have this little boss fight or whatever. And meanwhile, while all this is happening, the castle was shaking and trembling and everything, and Bowser didn't know what was going on. He was just laying in his bed about to put that thing over his eyes, trying to ignore what's going to happen. So then, after being beaten by Mario and everyone else, Junior is actually forced into up his giant spaceship with his giant robot, and Namek, Kamek, who was actually eaten by Yoshi, got turned into an egg, and then forcefully shoved into their spaceship, which somewhat got destroyed, which caused the castle to beam down and fall onto a planet filled with flowers. And then, during all of this, the castle is destroyed and everything, but Bowser's prison's also destroyed, which means he's free, but he's still tiny, like from the blue mushroom that he ate in the first movie. So then he tries to get away, but Mario Holt gets him, saying, "I basically just did catch the wind." So that he bites Mario on the arm, which causes him to throw him, and Yoshi eats him. He's like, "You might want to spit that out." And then Luigi catches Bowser in his hand. He's like, "Bowser, your son basically tried to kill us." So he's like, "My son? Oh, I haven't seen him in years. He must hate me." And Mario tells him, "No, he's actually came here to see you." He's like, "Okay, help me get to my son and make me big again." Or something like that. He's like, "No, we're not making you big again." So then we get to Peach and Toad getting to the Gateway Galaxy or whatever. And while they're there, they actually see a missing poster for Rosalina. And then Peach is starting to get certain flashbacks of Rosalina when they were like teenagers or whatever. So then we get this scene with the little monkey and Toad saying, "Oh, he's so cute, a little lost monkey." But this motherfucker over here stole Toad's backpack and ran off with it. He's like, "Hey, that monkey stole my backpack. Get back here, bitch." So then they think they corner the monkey, but no, this man really just transported through the walls, and then they followed him, and it turns out they ended up in this so-called backway alley gangster place filled with all these bad guys or whatever. So then we get back to Mario, Bowser, Luigi, and Yoshi traveling through the field saying, I can't confront my son being all small or whatever. Last time he saw me, I was a giant turtle. I would like to be big again. So that he forces Mario to undo the power of the blue mushroom, mocking him and calling him out of his name. And Mario actually takes him, slams him to the ground, and stomps on him, which causes the power of the blue mushroom to be no more, and Bowser actually grows to his normal size again. And then he grabs Mario, and I was not expecting him to do this, but he actually kissed Mario on the face. And he's like, "You won't regret this. Let's go work together." And then they proceed to go to the Queen Bee's castle to see if they can get off the planet or whatever. So then we get back to Peach and Toad trying to find this little monkey bastard who stole Toad's backpack, who has all his coins and his novel in that bag, and all of their tools. So they ended up tracking him down, and I did not know this guy's name until after I saw the movie, but then I heard other people say his name. So yeah, Toad and Peach confront King Wart, who then tries to say, who says he has information on where Rosalina is. He's like, "You're gonna tell us where Rosalina is," and King Wart's like, "Or else what?" And then Peach and Toad get jumped by all these bad guys, who actually ends up winning at the end. And Peach eats a red mushroom, grows herself big, and she's like, "Where is Rosalina?" He's like, okay, I'll tell you." And then after they leave and get the information, he's like, "Get me Bowser Jr. right now. We have a big problem." So then we cut back to Bowser, Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi going to the Queen Bee's castle, trying to get off the planet and to the Gateway Galaxy. And then Bowser has to stay outside while Yoshi, Mario, and Luigi talk to the Queen. And she's like, "You ruined my beautiful flower field. Get them! Sentence them to prison." But Bowser barges in. He's like, "Wait, take me instead. I will take their sentence. Just get them to the Gateway Galaxy or whatever." So then, I was not expecting for Bowser to have somewhat of a redemption arc in this movie, which is actually kind of interesting because he was a big brute in the first movie, and seeing him have a redemption arc like that, a snapperoo like that, is actually kind of interesting, and some side of Bowser that actually kind of liked. Like, you would think he would hold some sort of grudge with not only Mario, but Luigi as well, but he was actually vibing with Luigi throughout this whole movie, because both of them beat Bowser in the first movie. But no, that's actually kind of surprised me. So they get to the Gateway Galaxy while Bowser is doing his prison sentence in the field. And then I honestly thought we were going to get another Bowser song like in the first movie. That would have been interesting to see, but surprisingly, spoiler alert, we did not get a new Bowser song in this film. But yeah, basically while talking to all the rest of the prisoners, he actually gets beamed up into space by Bowser Jr.'s spaceship, who actually ends up finding his dad, and they actually ended up reuniting, which is actually a very sweet moment. He's like, "Dad, it's really you." And then he actually runs up to his son and hugs him. Like, off topic note, but I feel like this is the more Bowser, well, not Bowser, I feel like this is the type of relationship we need to see between Junior and Braxton in SML universe. Like, if we see more of that, then I could somewhat see Braxton being a more caring and loving father, which he should be, because he did take custody of Junior, and if he really did not want him like he says he does, then why did you even take custody of him? But anyway, off topic. That's just my little rant. But then we actually get this cute flashback of baby Bowser Jr., who was actually cute, getting tucked up in his bed, telling his dad, "Can you do me the bedtime story again?" And he gives him a little plushie of himself, and Bowser, being the creative artist that he is, proceeds to make a whole cardboard curtain or whatever, with a whole set and everything, telling him a story of how him and his son will rule everything together and destroy everything in their path. But everywhere they went, nobody wanted them. So Junior is told by Bowser that one day they will create their own planet called Planet Bowser, where they'll have roller coasters, ravines filled with lava, and at the top of the planet, they will have this giant I don't know what it was called, but it was like a doomsday weapon or something that's powered up by so-called the most powerful princess in the galaxy, which is Rosalina, and then they will drain all of her life to power up that cannon to destroy everyone who opposes them and dislikes them or whatever. So then the story's over and Junior's in bed, and then he proceeds to tell Bowser that he actually built the planet himself. All that time he has not seen his father. So I was actually impressed that he was able to do that. But before we even get to that part, we get back to Peach and Toad, who tries to find a pilot to take them to the dark part of the galaxy where Rosalina is being kept. And after a long Zootopia reference with this robot named Rob, and he proceeds to say, the pilot deck is right, and all that extra stuff there. And when they finally get the location, they head to the flight deck where they try to ask all these pilots if they could take them to the dangerous parts of the galaxy. And that's when they come across this space fox whose name I forgot, but apparently he multiverse traveled to the Mario universe with some of his friends or whatever. But he's like, how desperate for money do you think I am for me to take you to that dangerous part of the galaxy? And Toad proceeds to show his bag full of coins, and he's like, all right, you got yourself a deal. We'll be leaving soon. Let me just fuel up my plane. Like, bro switched up so quick. So then, while they're waiting for the ship to be ready, Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi actually make their way to the Gateway Galaxy, and Luigi's like being the hype man for Mario again. He's like, you know what? Next time you see the princess, you should definitely ask her out to be your girlfriend. But we already know this man's been in the friend zone. But then when they finally get there, Peach is actually running up to Mario, about to hug him, but then Mario comes up with a handshake. Like, I was like, in the movie theaters, like, bro, that's so awkward. But then they all get on the Fox's spaceship, getting ready to head to the dark part of the galaxy. But then they're actually stopped by Junior and Bowser. And Mario sees Bowser. He's like, Bowser, he betrayed us and double-crossed us again. But then, while Junior's attacking them, Bowser actually has a conflicted feeling on his face. He's like, wait, we don't actually want to kill them. But then Junior proceeds to grab a baby shooting gun who actually shoots Mario and Luigi to turn them into babies. And I was like, what the hell? I did not think we were going to see this in the movie. But yeah, that actually made them crash onto a nearby planet. And Junior's like, they'll be crying for their mommies, or whatever he said. So then Bowser is actually having conflicted, mixed feelings about what had just happened. So then we see them crash onto this new planet or whatever, and then Mario and Luigi, who've been turned into babies, run off, and then Toad and Yoshi have to work together to get them back together to the plane or whatever. And then the Junior actually forcefully threw the gun out into space, which unknowingly made it onto the same planet that they crashed onto. So then Yoshi sees the gun in a tree and tries to get it. Meanwhile, Mario and Luigi run off and play with a sleeping dinosaur. So then, they were doing all these things. Getting on top of the dinosaur, opening the dinosaur's eyelids as it was sleeping, getting into his mouth, Mario coming out of his nose. I was like, oh, that's disgusting. So then, after all of that, Yoshi gets the babies, and it's about to leave, but then Toad is the one who ends up grabbing the babies. And then Yoshi is dropping down to Toad, saying, huzzah! And then gets the gun in his hand. And that actually wakes up the dinosaur. Like, how does something like that wake you up, but people going inside your mouth, pause, and coming out your nose, playing with your literal eyeballs as you're sleeping, not wake you up? But yeah, everyone else is getting chased by the dinosaur, except for the Fox and Peach, who are still at the ship trying to repair it. And then they get chased by the dinosaur, they fall into a lake or whatever, and Yoshi thinks he's about to get eaten by the dinosaur. But then Toad, who actually also end up getting turned into a baby, him, Luigi, and Mario actually shoot the dinosaur by accident, make the dinosaur into a little baby. And then, after all that is done, Yoshi gets the gun from baby Luigi, who ends up crying, shoots them and turns them back into themselves. And he actually is still crying as an adult. He's like, actually kind of like being a baby. All that adrenaline stuff, like, nah, I would not want to wish to be a baby again. I don't know who you think you are. But then they actually end up getting back to the crash land ship, and the Fox is really trying hard his best to get the ship up and running again. So then we get this scene with Peach being upset, and Mario's trying to cheer her up, and he's like, well then can I be upset with you? And then they proceed to kick rocks and stomp on the ground together. So then we get back to Luigi, who's fiddling around with some parts of the ship with a radio, the radio thing, and he's talking into it. And then we cut back to the Lumas in their home, replicating the fight scene that it was in the first movie with Mario and Donkey Kong, that fight that they had in the first film. But then they actually end up knocking down the radio station thing, and they actually hear Luigi's voice. And then they're like, Luigi? And then we cut to Bowser and Bowser Jr. And Jr.'s actually showing Bowser the planet Bowser that he worked so hard on, and he's like, you really built all this? And he's actually very impressed. And then Bowser Jr. takes his father to the place where Rosalina is being kept hostage in this big bubble-like contraption or whatever. And then he's confronted by his army, telling them that, giving him this big speech, and then at the end of the speech, he's like, your king has returned. And I like how one Koopa in the audience was like, yeah, long live the king, referencing the Lion King. But anyway, after all that, he's like, well, no, actually not that. We then cut back to Mario and the others, still not able to get the ship back together. And then the Fox is like, guys, something bright's coming our way. And then another meteor shower happens. And then the Lumas actually bring their whole entire home to where Mario and the others are stranded on. And they offer to give them a ride. So then, after they play with all the Lumas, Peach actually goes into their home, explores a little bit, and then sees a book about her. And the book actually reveals where she came from. And this is the exact same story that Rosalina was going to tell the Lumas at the beginning of the movie. So basically, we find out that Peach and Rosalina are actually sisters. And when they touch hands, they create life. Like grass, flowers, water, and everything. But with that power, people wanted it. So Rosalina actually ended up sending Peach away to keep her safe. Because that kind of gave me reference to Sonic and Longclaw in the first movie, with Sonic saying, turns out with great power comes great power hungry bad guys. And this kind of reminded me of the scene in the first Sonic movie where Longclaw was the one who sent baby Sonic to Earth, saying, this world is on the far side of the universe. If you're ever discovered, use one of these rings to escape. And that's what that reminded me of. So Rosalina was the one who actually sent Peach to the Mushroom Kingdom where the Toads found her. So then, I don't really know what Rosalina was doing throughout the rest of those times. Like, we obviously knew what Peach was doing, but it would have been nice to see what Rosalina was doing. Because how did she even meet all those Lumas? And how did she even get that whole home system that they're on right now? But then, after discovering all that, they actually see this little spaceship area at the top of their home, and they use that to make their way to Planet Bowser to save Rosalina. So then, the Fox is the one who's driving, and everyone's in the cockpit area, and they all make their way to Planet Bowser. So then, we get there, and Mario, Peach, Yoshi, and Luigi jump out and onto Planet Bowser, and tries their best not to be seen, but Peach and Mario are the ones who actually ends up being spotted by Koopas and everybody else. And then Junior gets the alert, and then he says he has a so-called built-in security system for these kinds of situations. But then Peach and Mario actually end up falling through this trap door, which has which is a giant alleyway filled with a whole bunch of game references. Like, in the very first Mario games, the map you play out in where you try not to die and go through all those obstacles. That's basically what Bowser Jr. created. And it's real on their side, but on Junior's side, he has a TV, and it's basically a reference to the pixel version of the first Mario game with all the objects and everything. So he tries to play this thing like it's an actual video game. But then, after getting beaten by Mario and Peach, who overcome all those obstacles, he's like, "No, damn it!" And Bowser confronts his son, being like, "I won't let them ruin this for you." So then they get to this bridge, and then Bowser throws an axe on him, and he has 2 more axes in his hand going. And Peach is like, "Let us through." And Bowser's like, "Or else what? After you humiliated me on my so-called wedding day, all the extra stuff." And Mario's like, "Bowser, calm down. I know there's still some good in you." And that was actually kind of disappointing to see Bowser's redemption arc go up to down a little bit, because earlier in the movie, Junior's like, "You know what? Friends will always hold you back, but you know what won't hold you back and betray you? Family. You can always trust family." And he actually had the old Bowser puppet and the old plushie of himself from when he was just a baby. He had them in a couch behind a pillow or something that Bowser was sitting on earlier. But yeah. So then, Mario and Peach actually end up getting on the bridge, jumping over Bowser, and then Mario actually chops down the bridge with Bowser falling into the lava and drowning. Junior, thinking he was dead, goes to where where he saw his father fall, and he was started crying. And even Peach and Mario were a bit concerned, and Mario looked like he was about to cry. But then I honestly thought Bowser was done for, but then he emerged from the lava as Dry Bowser, saying, "I am the Lord of Bones. I am the Skull King." And Junior proceeds to say, "And I'm his son." And they proceed to attack Peach and Mario, which they run off, and they see a gateway, and Mario blocks that off, leaving Peach alone to go save Rosalina while he deals with Bowser and Bowser Jr. So then they go their separate ways, with Peach trying to save Rosalina and Mario taking on the 2 bosses. So then Mario's actually joined by Yoshi and Luigi, who actually bring a whole bunch of power-ups. And then we get this big epic fight with all of them with some game references. And there are some power-ups in this movie that I was not aware of. Like, there was this one power-up with Mario. He had a big drill onto his head. And then Luigi ate a power-up with a whole bunch of clouds coming around him. And Yoshi ate a power-up with the ability for him to grow big and turn blue. And he was flying like if he ate a whole bunch of helium. And then they proceed to fight Dry Bowser and Junior. And then Luigi draws something with Bowser Jr.'s paintbrush. He's like, "What? You know I'm bad at drawing." And I was like, "Ain't no way," because I thought that doodle that Luigi drew, I think he's in some other Mario game, but I've only seen him in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But yeah, Bowser actually ends up getting beat to a pulp by that little doodle that Luigi drew. And then he's nothing but bones on the floor right now, and Junior loses his temper, saying, "That's it!" Gets his paintbrush back from Luigi, and he proceeds to draw a giant circle surrounding the gang, and then a giant purple dragon comes up from the paint, and he's like, "Prepare to face the wrath." But then he accidentally lost control of his own creation, and the dragon actually ends up eating Bowser Jr. He's like, "Daddy, please help me." And he actually gets eaten by the dragon. He's like, "Junior!" And then Mario sees that. He's like, "Okay, I gotta save him, even though we're enemies." So then Mario actually sees a red star power-up, flies through the dragon's stomach, and actually saves Bowser Jr., and then reunites with Dry Bowser, hugging his head. Meanwhile, we cut back to Peach trying to save Rosalina, and then she does multiple things to try and free her, but then she realizes and remembers that if they touch and collide hands with each other, they'll actually create life and stuff, whatever, but that could also do unimaginable power forces. So they decide to join hands together. He's like, Rosalina, I need you to try. And then they actually proceed and actually succeed and turns planet Bowser, which is a planet that's filled with darkness, lava in the river and everything, to everything, go from that to everything turning luscious and green with all the lava being replaced by lakes of water and grass and everything and trees. And then the whole battle is over. And then Junior is over here trying to find all Dry Bowser's bones and body parts. He's like, yeah, that's my boy. Now let's go find my body, and or whatever he said. So then Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi make their way to Peach and Rosalina, and Peach is like, come meet my sister, Rosalina. So then they all meet each other, and then the Star Fox, I think that's his name, Star Fox, actually make their way to Mario and the others. And the Lumas are all happy to see Rosalina, and the Lumas are like, Mom, can we please go to the Mushroom Kingdom and see the castle? And they're like, and Rosalina's like, sure, why not? But then they get back to the Mushroom Kingdom, and Peach is like, what happened to the castle? And yeah, they forgot to completely remind Peach about what had happened while she was gone. And Mario's like, you know what? We can rebuild you an even better castle. So then Rosalina puts on a construction worker hat, and I think she gave one to Mario as well. So then they all work together to build a new, bigger, and better castle. And Mario has a cape at the end of the movie and is about to put the flag on top of the castle. And he actually gets a kiss on the cheek by Peach. And he's like, woohoo! Flies up to the top of the castle, places the flag on top of the castle, and flies up. And that's when we get the credits. And then there were actually two end credit scenes. The first one was the Star Fox dropping off Bowser Jr. and Dry Bowser to this so-called, which looked like a maximum security prison. And then he was about to leave the prison with a blue Toad saying, with the Star Fox telling the Toad, good luck, that is one hectic family, and proceeds to fly back into space. And Junior's actually digging his way out of the prison with a shovel, which how he got the shovel, I'm wondering. Anyway, so then he proceeds to dig a hole in the prison, and then we get this one scene, because you know how sometimes in prison scenes, those cops be having those baseball-looking baseball bats stuff, and then they be going up to the prison bar cells, and they're like, yeah, one of the guards was doing that, but what I was not expecting was their guard, or police officer guard, to be the damn blue and green Luma from the very first Mario movie, who was like, there's no escape. The only hope is the sweet release of death or whatever. And he was like, I was like, ain't no way they really brought this little psychotic star back. And then Bowser and Bowser Jr. are literally in the corner hugging each other, who tells them to stay away. And then Junior proceeds to scream at the top of his lungs, and we get more credits, and that's the first end credit scene. And then the second end credit scene was when we see the Gateway Galaxy station again, with the monkey stealing another person's luggage, who's actually stopped by somebody, and then the wood person who gets their bag back proceeds to thank the Queen, or Your Highness, as they said. And we actually see Princess Daisy at the end of the movie. I was like, yo, ain't no way. Like, nah, we got all three princesses. We had Peach, Rosalina, and now Daisy. Like, that honestly got me a little bit hyped to see the third movie whenever it comes out. And that's basically the movie. So, honestly, there were some nitpicks I had with the movie. Like, I wish Rosalina was present throughout most of the movie. Like, we've only seen her a few times in the movie. Like, at the beginning, the part where she gets taken to Planet Bowser. And then one more time when Bowser actually returns. And then the fourth time was when they actually saved Rosalina. Like, she had 4 appearances throughout this movie. Oh, actually 5 if you count the flashback. So she was only present 5 times in this movie. Like, I would like to have seen Rosalina throughout more of the movie. And yeah, that's basically the only nitpick I had. And I felt like this movie kind of felt super quick. Like, golly. And also, for my first time seeing a movie in IMAX was kind of a bit of a letdown, because I would thought that for an IMAX movie, you would need special IMAX glasses, but apparently the Cinemark I went to didn't provide any of us in that theater with any special 3D IMAX glasses. But I don't know what was happening there, but that's besides the point. I still like this movie overall. Yeah, and besides that little nitpick, there's nothing else I really didn't like about it. It was actually still a pretty good movie. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I give the Super Mario Galaxy movie a solid 8 out of 10. Did I like it better than the first one? No, I actually like both movies equally. But do I like the Sonic, wait, do I like the Mario movies better than the Sonic movies? No, I like the Sonic movies way better than the Mario movie because not only it's live action, but it has more awesome action-packed scenes and the effects are great. While the Mario movie is 3D animated, the Sonic movies are all live action. And I did remember seeing a live action Mario movie years ago, and that did not look good at all. Like, Bowser looked so weird. Like, I don't even want to be reminded of that movie. I don't even know what year that movie even came out. But honestly, yeah, I think that's all I'm going to do for it now. That's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And if you did watch the Mario movie, the Galaxy movie, what was your favorite part of the movie? But with that being said, make sure you comment 5 mushroom emojis to confirm if you watched my full review from beginning to end. But with that being said, I will see you all in the next video. Hopefully you guys liked my little cosplay of Bowser. But until next time, peace out.